The illusion of realism. Since childhood, most people are conditioned to accept a damaging lie, that they must always be realistic. Society routinely advises individuals to stay grounded, avoid dreaming too big, lower expectations, and reject the idea that they are uniquely special. While this sounds like prudent wisdom on the surface, it acts as a silent destructive force. This cautious mindset has quietly dismantled more human potential, killed more ideas, and crushed more aspirations than actual failure ever could. The power of strategic delusion. Historical figures who fundamentally altered the world share a distinct commonality. They possessed an unwavering self-belief long before the public validated them. Their conviction was often so intensely profound that contemporaries labeled them entirely delusional. Real triumph never comes from merely observing what already exists. True innovators see what has not yet manifested, raising a pivotal question. Are you willing to be delusional enough to become extraordinary? Flipping the confidence equation. A widespread misunderstanding surrounds the mechanics of confidence, with most believing it only develops after achieving success. Niccolò Machiavelli recognized a far more potent truth. People do not follow certainty because it offers definitive proof. They follow certainty because the presence of certainty generates its own proof. Beliefs dictate actions, actions forge identity, and identity determines the future. Consequently, your ultimate trajectory is established in your mind long before physical reality catches up. Understanding the psychological trap. When an exciting, grand idea surfaces, a habitual mental script or an external voice usually intervenes to demand realism. Submitting to this voice is not a sign of maturity, it is a psychological trap. Realism, as it is commonly utilized, fails to shield people from the pain of failure. Instead, it securely insulates them from ever attempting anything substantial. It functions as fear disguised as sensible, responsible behavior, the legacy of playing it safe. The restriction of human potential typically begins in youth when well-meaning adults encourage children to formulate backup plans. Passed down through successive generations, this well-intentioned discouragement elevates playing it safe to a form of artificial intelligence. Yet every modern necessity, from the smartphones in our pockets to life-saving medical breakthroughs, was constructed by an individual who completely rejected realism to build something out of nothing. The shrinking identity. Succumbing to the trap of realism subtly alters how individuals view themselves on a daily basis. Shrinking your goals to evade outside judgment forces you to construct a systematically smaller identity. You transition from an active creator into a passive reactor. This mental shift causes you to stop volunteering, stop pursuing larger opportunities, withhold your true thoughts, and wait indefinitely for a permission slip that will never arrive. Overcoming social resistance. Pursuing a grander vision inevitably causes social discomfort, not because peers desire your failure, but because your raw ambition exposes the dreams they chose to bury. Consequently, they will vocalize doubts and outline every potential obstacle. Seeking external approval before taking decisive action is highly dangerous, as it places your future inside the self-imposed limitations of others when the only necessary validation is your own. Reality versus limitation. Acknowledging your current situation, auditing available resources, and identifying obstacles is a necessary component of strategic planning. There is, however, a massive distinction between understanding your current reality and allowing it to limit you. History's greatest achievers never denied their circumstances. They simply refused to let them dictate their future, holding on to a clear vision well before anyone else could perceive it. The engine of evidence high performers operate on a sequence that flips conventional logic on its head. Belief must come first, which alters decisions, transforms actions, and ultimately produces results. Genuine conviction alters how you show up, how long you work, and how you problem solve. This standard of greatness is evident in icons like Michael Jordan, who, after being cut from his varsity team, relied on internal belief to fuel the unseen hours of practice long before the championships materialized. Insulating against toxic doubt. Doubt behaves like a transmissible virus within an environment, causing people to absorb the hesitation of those around them without consciously realizing it. If your immediate circle operates under a restricted ceiling of belief, their self-imposed limitations quietly become your own. Cultivating unwavering self-belief fundamentally alters your posture, your communication, and your resilience, transforming a rejection from a foundational shock into a simple redirection. The true nature of ambition. Ambition is frequently mischaracterized as a character flaw or a symptom of unchecked greed, causing many to apologize for their grand aspirations to keep others comfortable. Unnecessary humility is just as destructive to personal growth as an overinflated ego. True humility is recognizing your capabilities and pursuing them relentlessly. While ego falsely claims you are already the best, ambition hungrily demands that you continuously outgrow your current self. Breaking the waiting game. A massive barrier to success is the passive waiting game, waiting to feel entirely qualified, waiting for the perfect timing, or waiting for an authority figure to grant permission. The world responds exclusively to momentum and movement. The most accomplished figures in history initiated their journeys long before they felt fully prepared, allowing the physical act of motion to generate the clarity and competence they required. Redefining the value of failure. Failure is one of life's most painful experiences, yet it is never a permanent verdict on personal worth. It is merely data regarding an approach. Setbacks highlight specific operational variables that require adjustment, whether in timing, strategy, or execution. Recovering rapidly demands shifting your internal narrative from asking why this happened to evaluating what this situation can teach you. Navigating the invisible phase. Real growth is inherently nonlinear and rarely looks impressive while it is unfolding, often resembling a long period of wasted effort. Most individuals abandon their goals during this invisible phase because they mistake silence for failure and a slow pace for a complete stop. Remaining in the game is the sole requirement for winning it, necessitating that you protect your confidence by separating temporary situational setbacks from your core identity. The philosophy of strategic adaptation. Commitment to a grand objective must never be confused with a rigid attachment to a single path. Elite performers hold their final destination tightly while keeping their operational methods loose. When an active strategy hits a wall, it functions exactly like a recalculating navigation system. Obstacles are not definitive stop signs. They are informative detours that reveal gaps in preparation or expose entirely new opportunities. Re-engineering personal identity. Mindset, ambition, and adaptability are entirely useless if your underlying identity, the core story you believe about yourself, fails to match your destination. The habits, language, and decisions you possess today were perfectly designed to produce your current life. To manifest a different reality, you must actively evolve into a different person from the inside out, starting with the immediate vocabulary you utilize. The compound effect of action. Transitioning from tentative language to definitive declarations of growth signals seriousness to your brain, shifting thoughts, behaviors, and eventual reality. This transformation is reinforced through small, consistent, daily habits that align with your ultimate vision. Committing to these quiet actions builds an earned confidence, enabling you to carry yourself, speak, and make decisions as the future version of yourself, before the world ever agrees with your direction. Building a lasting legacy. Every industry-changing movement and legendary figure was initially dismissed as unrealistic or entirely delusional. The defining difference between those who reshape reality and those who do not is the courage to sustain belief in an unseen vision. History forgets the critics and remembers the individuals who maintained their momentum regardless of the noise. Reject blind optimism, anchor yourself in flexible execution, and build something worth remembering.